Africa's biggest beer maker, South African Breweries, has made an open appeal to Treasury not to increase excise taxes in the forthcoming budget announcement. Why? Well, it cites a need for the industry to recover from COVID-19, which resulted in 3 sales bans. You'll also know that SAB, among a spate of companies that last year either delayed or cancelled billions of rands in investment, citing uncertainty caused by government's ban on the sale of alcohol. I want to explore this a little further as I'm joined now by Director of Regulatory and Public Policy at Breweries, Helen Ndlovu. Good afternoon to you. Could you maybe articulate the sense of crisis that the liquor industry in South Africa finds itself in right now?
Good afternoon, Jeremy. Thank you so much for having myself and SAB on your show. We are in a serious crisis, Jeremy. We've had over 19 weeks of alcohol bans, and thousands of jobs have been lost already. So we are really in a state of crisis.
Is government listening to you sufficiently? Is it consulting enough?
No. So the consultation is still a big area of improvement, I think, with regards to our government, especially when it comes to measures that could potentially be put in place to deal with alcohol during the time of COVID.
How difficult a decision was it for breweries to hold back on investment?
It wasn't an easy decision at all, Jeremy. We are very heavily invested in South Africa. We have a very vast value chain that depends on us. So it wasn't an easy decision at all, but one that we unfortunately had to make given the situation that we find ourselves in.
Given that you're part of a global multinational, is that investment gone forever, or is it simply on ice?
The 5 billion from last year and earlier this year is really gone forever, Jeremy, unfortunately, because we still live in a very uncertain time. There's still a lot of headwinds coming our way this year. There's talk of a 4th ban due to a 3rd wave that's upcoming. There is excise tax that's coming in 2 weeks, and we need to see how that goes. And there's also talk of much stronger regulatory measures put in place. So we live in a very uncertain time, so we cannot at this point commit to investments in the manner that we have previously.
And that has a knock-on effect on jobs at some point, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. I mean, the investments that we as SAB have put off were for things like upgrading of our facilities and the likes, and those were going to employ even more people outside of the normal value chain of SAB. So it does really have an impact. So
you call it an excise tax. We in the media call it a sin tax. Why have you adopted this strategy? What in fact have you asked government to do?
So, Jeremy, as has become custom now, the Minister of Finance will ask for inputs from the public. So what we have done this year, and we also did it last year, is to respond to the public call. This does not negate the fact that we are having direct engagements with the technical team and the likes, but it was just to respond publicly and get this conversation going, Jeremy, because it is an important one. We do believe that for us to be able to have any sort of recovery as an industry, we do need a flat excise this year.
I guess you had to raise the flag, but given that excise tax is always an easy win for any government, you don't really expect it to listen to you, do you?
We hope that they will, Jeremy, because this is a very unique year, and we also need to keep in mind that excise is just about 22 billion. Which is about only 2% of the budget. So even if they come up with a very exorbitant increase, it's not going to make a dent at all. However, on the other side, the alcohol industry contributes 3.4% to total GDP, which is around 173 billion. And as much as it won't make a dent in revenue for the state, having a high excise is going to make a huge impact on the industry in terms of jobs and further investments.
Just a final question. You obviously are aware that the COGTA Minister, Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, is not ruling out the possibility of another alcohol ban in the future. You yourself raised the issue of the third wave. What would happen if that were to occur?
It would be absolutely devastating, especially for the smaller players. The craft brewers have already been cut almost in half, so there's almost half of them that will never come back. So another ban would really bury that part of the value chain. We would also have to make some very serious decisions around our business model and our future in this country.
That is a very serious statement. Thank you for joining us. Helen Ndlovu from South African Breweries, Director of Regulatory and Public Policy.